Hi, welcome to Coaster Mania. I'm Micah, and today I wanted to talk about my rankings of the coasters at Busch Gardens Tampa. This park provided a bit of a mixed bag experience for us, but we still did enjoy our time there. Most of the coasters here were great, and there isn't a whole lot of gaps in the overall lineup. This park is greatly helped by its ability to be open nearly year-round with the amazing weather that Florida has to provide. So getting out to this park is not all that difficult. Unfortunately for us, our trip to this park did get cut a little bit short due to a thunderstorm that rolled in on our third day. We were able to get a surprising amount of footage, which does make me feel grateful, but as it stands now, we may end up revisiting this park again next year to try to make up for any additional footage or pictures we want to get. Let's go ahead and rank these coasters from worst to best to see how they stack up. Number 10, Air Grover. Built in 2010, this Zero Force model is your standard fare kiddie coaster. Again, falling in line with our apparent refusal to ride kiddie coasters at only Cedar Fair parks, Katie and I did ride this one. Feeling a lot like the Tivoli models Zero also makes, this coaster is short and incredibly uneventful. Most other family coasters out there at least have a few bunny hills in their layouts, but all this layout has is a lift hill and 2 helixes. It is somewhat odd to me that Busch Gardens didn't just go with a traditional kiddie coaster, since it would have at least felt like it did more with its layout. Number 9, Sand Serpent. Sand Serpent is a Mock Rides Wild Mouse that was built in 2004. It was originally located at Busch Gardens Williamsburg and relocated to this park. It is 1,213 feet long, 45 feet tall, and has a top speed of 28 miles per hour. Katie didn't hurt her shoulder on this one, rather, I accidentally smacked her in the face. I don't think there's a single wild mouse that she'll ride that she won't get hurt on. There's nothing distinct or special about this wild mouse, so I really don't have much to say about it. Being that this is a standard layout, I have nothing really to complain about. They are short, provide lots of laterals, and are a charming experience for kids and families alike. Number 8, Tigris. This is the first Premier Rides Skyrocket 2 model that Katie and I have ridden. It was built in 2019 and is 150 feet tall, 863 feet long, and has a top speed of 62 miles per hour. As a first experience, I enjoyed this ride, but wasn't a huge fan of the restraint system. When I rode West Coast Racers, I had heard that the comfort collars found on Premier trains were bad, but I didn't fully understand since there was only really one spot of mild discomfort on that ride. Tigris, however, opened my eyes as to why many coaster enthusiasts complain about these comfort collars. It was mainly on the vertical twists on both sides of the coaster. The quick transitions as well as the placement of the large blocks on the comfort collars can either knock into the side of your neck, or the straps themselves can potentially dig into your collarbone. Not fun. Other than that, the pops of ejector and hang time you experience on this ride are great. Despite my complaints, I do see why this coaster model is such a popular installation at many theme parks, and foresee many of these being installed at others. Number 7, Scorpion. Scorpion is a part of a somewhat dying breed of roller coaster, at least here in North America. There still is a decent number of these in existence, but their number continues to dwindle. This Schwarzkopf looping coaster was opened in 1980 and is 1,817 feet long, 60 feet tall, and has a top speed of 41 miles per hour. Similar to other Schwarzkopf loopers, Scorpion has huge amounts of positive Gs in its loop as well as in its helixes. The profiling of the loops and turns on their coasters are always surprisingly forceful. What makes it even more shocking is the fact that even with only 60 feet of height, it is still able to pull off these forces. While by today's standards this is a family coaster, at the time of its opening this definitely would have been slightly more on the extreme side. I love these classic looping coasters and I'm really sad to see them go. Hopefully this one is able to stand the test of time and remain a staple coaster of Busch Gardens' lineup. Number 6, Cobra's Curse. This Mock Rides custom spinning coaster does a great job at showing what Busch Gardens is capable of in creating a very well themed experience on a roller coaster. Opened in 2016, Cobra's Curse is 2,100 feet long, has a max height of 70 feet, and a top speed of 40 miles per hour. This ride is divided into 3 sections. The first, which is a forwards-facing section, the second, which is a backwards facing section, and then the third, which is a free spinning section. The theming on this ride feels like something straight out of Indiana Jones, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was inspired by that. It also is somewhat unique in that it has an elevator style lift up to its tallest point. From here you come face to face with the giant snake and are tilted to the side to make it feel like you're about to go inside its mouth. This ride isn't exactly all that forceful, but the theming and the spinning aspect of it more than make up for this fact. It is a charming coaster and I'm glad it's here. Number 5. Kumba. Kumba is one of the 3 B&M sit-down looping coasters operating in North America. It was opened in 1993 and is 3,978 feet long, 143 feet tall, and has a top speed of 60 miles per hour. This coaster model didn't catch on as much as the far more popular inverted or floorless or even stand-up models that B&M also builds. Going into it, it looks exactly like what you'd expect from a typical B&M layout. It includes a curved drop, followed by a vertical loop with a dive loop right after. It includes a Cobra roll and interlocking corkscrews. It all is very bog standard in the world of B&M looping coasters. I have heard rumors lately that Busch Gardens was apparently considering either a full retracking of this coaster or perhaps removing it outright due to its roughness and age. Due to this, I went on this ride fully expecting a rough and uncomfortable experience, which is not what we got. This was smooth, forceful, and not at all uncomfortable. There were some moments of snappiness that if you weren't careful, you could get your head knocked around a bit, but the rest of the ride was just great. This felt a lot like Riddler's Revenge at Six Flags Magic Mountain, just without the stand-up element. Like many of these other coasters, it has 7 inversions, and each of them feel exactly as you'd expect. To finish off, this coaster has a fun finale that takes place in an incredibly dark tunnel. This coaster overall provides for a great experience, and I hope Busch Gardens keeps it in service for at least a little while longer. Number 4. SheiKra. Sad to say that we didn't get to ride this coaster, so we're basing our rankings off the POVs that we saw. This B&M dive coaster was opened in 2005 and is 200 feet tall, 3,188 feet long, and has a top speed of 70 miles per hour. There isn't much I feel like I have to say about this coaster. Dive coasters are very fun, and this one seems to be no exception. I appreciate the theming elements and a huge sucker for the splashdown on this thing. The near-miss elements almost make this feel slightly like a precursor to the wing coaster design and add more thrill to the experience. Dive coasters are the definition of one-trick ponies, but SheiKra seems to be one of the better ones out there. Compared to Griffin at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, this one definitely seems to be the better of the two, as it seemingly has a layout that is at least slightly more exciting. Both drops on this coaster do provide for some great airtime. Dive coasters do tend to be very sluggish in their transitions, but this is, in my belief, a product of the train design. The trains on this coaster have to be insanely heavy with how wide they are, and in order for B&M to design a coaster that doesn't rip itself apart, it needs to be designed with more gradual transitions. I mean, just take a look at the size of the track. It is far larger than any of the track you find on other B&Ms like Kumba or Montu. As negative as I may sound, I wouldn't exactly say I'm complaining about this ride. It's a fun experience that seemingly has a lot to offer to the table, and I know it's a huge crowd pleaser. Number 3. Montu. This is the controversial pick. Montu is often rated as the best B&M invert by many coaster enthusiasts. Opened in 1996, Montu is 3,983 feet long, 150 feet tall, and has a top speed of 60 miles per hour. It features a very complete layout that I don't think would be made any better with any additions to it. It remains incredibly forceful throughout, giving strong positives the entire time. This may not be my personal favorite invert, but it does make for an extremely strong number 2. This ride dives below ground level multiple times into these pits, which make this coaster feel faster than life. Most of the inversions are kept low, so the coaster has plenty of speed to push through each and every one of them. There's a total of 7 inversions on this coaster, which isn't groundbreaking, but there is something about the sequencing of them which really works in this ride's favor. I can really see why so many people call this invert their favorite. It is incredibly long and incredibly well paced. As simple as it is, I really dig the color scheme of this ride too. In the Florida sun, this coaster shines and just looks absolutely gorgeous. The weakest aspect of this coaster has to be the theming. While not every coaster out there has to be themed to the brim, there really isn't much present here, which is a bit disappointing. I feel like it would have been nice if there was something extra. The brickwork in the pits is the closest thing to theming this ride gets, which is something at the very least. Despite this, the overall experience of Montu is great, and there isn't many other coasters that do the invert layout as well as it does. Number 2, Cheetah Hunt. This is an Intamin LSM launch coaster that was opened in 2011 and is 4,429 feet long, has a max height of 102 feet and a top speed of 60 miles per hour. This is a great coaster and features an amazing understanding of roller coaster design principles. It feels incredibly long and thorough, and after getting off the ride, we felt incredibly satisfied. There isn't anything that I feel like I could change about the layout to make it any better. The launches are enjoyable, the different moments like the wind catcher tower and the slalom back and forth over the water all provide memorable moments on this coaster. My favorite moment has to be the slalom section. When I was a kid, I always loved doing this when I'd ride my bike, and it felt like being in an action movie flying between obstacles or something like that. This moment on the ride provides an almost cinematic feeling, and I am so glad it's here. The single inversion this ride has is also fairly strong in that it provides a small amount of hang time. On most of its hills, there's plenty of airtime and it maintains a high speed throughout. For some reason, it sounds like a lot of people don't really appreciate this ride as much as we do, and I have to say I'm pretty confused. While I do agree it doesn't have the same insane intensity of Montu, I just enjoy the rest of this coaster more than I did Montu. Where I feel like it beats that ride is in the landscaping and layout variety. Montu has a lot of elements that you can find on most other B&Ms and doesn't feel incredibly different from those, while Cheetah Hunt feels more unique and tailor-made to the land on which it sits. While I may not consider it necessarily within legendary status, I would gladly wait in line to get back on this ride again and again and again. Number 1, Iron Gwazi. Iron Gwazi is the only RMC in the park, and therefore it's the best. This former lawn ornament was opened in 2022. Iron Gwazi is the hybrid conversion of the former pair of GCI-built racing wooden coasters called Gwazi. It is 4,075 feet long, 206 feet tall, and has a top speed of 76 miles per hour. Is it the best RMC in the world? Honestly, I need to think about this one. It is an amazing ride with tons of insane moments of ejector airtime and an almost relentless layout. The first drop has you diving underneath tons of support structure and feels like you will hit every single beam on your way down. Oops. After this is one of my favorite types of elements on RMC coasters, the outer bank turn. This huge element will have you out of your seat through its entire duration. The rest of the layout has a variety of other elements, and I really enjoyed riding it back to back to back. The layout, in my opinion, just felt like it was slightly on the short side. It still has so much steam coming into the final brake run, and it makes me wonder what could have been done if they just added one extra smaller lap into the layout. On an interesting note, this coaster was rumored to be co-designed by Joe Draves. Joe Draves is credited as the designer for both the new Airy Force 1 at Fun Spot Atlanta and Wildcat's Revenge at Hershey Park. He has a lot of really good rides credited to his name, so if you haven't yet, I'd check out his portfolio. One minor complaint I have about the RMCs he's designed so far is seemingly how much time they spend turning. This sounds weird, but if you compare other Alan Schilke design RMCs to some of the newer ones, you might also notice this too. If you're wondering what my thoughts on this are compared to Steel Vengeance, you'll have to wait for my video in which I put the two coasters head to head and compare their entire layouts. The competition between the two is very close, and I can't wait to share that video with you guys. Busch Gardens Tampa has an awesome lineup that, in my opinion, would have felt possibly a bit empty if it weren't for Iron Gwazi. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but this coaster ties the whole park together, which makes it feel more like a complete experience. This park seems to be almost 100% developed, so I'm not entirely sure what might happen to it in the future. There might be some small plots of land that could be developed on, but with the hybrid zoo and theme park design that SeaWorld Entertainment seemingly likes to take, I don't see there being much expansion beyond what we already have. Despite this, I would highly recommend any coaster enthusiast come out to visit this park, if not solely to ride the legendary Iron Gwazi. Yes, the murmurs are true. This coaster is one that is elite status. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, feel free to leave a like and comment below and consider subscribing. I intend on uploading more content as time goes on and as Katie and I experience more parks and coasters. You can also find daily uploads on our Instagram page at Coaster Mania. Soon we'll be opening an Etsy page where we'll be able to buy prints and more of some of your favorite coaster photography of ours. Thanks for watching the video, and ride on, Coaster Maniacs!